Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
Well, the good news was I didn't fall up those steps, which I was worried about all morning, so that's the result. But firstly, thanks, Daniel, for that fantastic introduction. I feel really privileged to be in front of you also. Thanks for taking the time. I'm also really privileged because I get to work with some absolutely fantastic brands. And the point of this slide is how broad all these brands are. Everyone from automotive, healthcare, agencies, universities, dental, care homes, it's really broad. But the one thing that pulls them all together is they all struggle to understand the impact of the customer journey and understand what's working and what isn't working within their marketing mix. How can they see all these complicated journeys in one place? 58% of business leaders in 2022 in a Gartner report said data and analytics alignment is key in business success. Marketers are no longer needing to stand alone. Data is more important than ever before. And what we're going to try and do today is unlock it. We're going to be as transparent as we possibly can because we know the data we collect in the marketing function is really powerful. So why is this talk called Winning with SEO? Firstly, SEO, we know it drives some fantastic organic traffic. It does. We know journeys are really complicated. Just think about the last thing you bought. Think about whether you spent 50 quid or whether you spent 500 or £1,000. It's complicated. You're reading review sites, you're reading blogs, you're clicking PPC ads, you're on Facebook, you're on Trustpilot, you're on loads of review sites. It's getting more and more complicated to understand how our audiences are engaging with these brands. So hopefully what we'll go through is we'll go through how to measure it, how to report it, and how to change it. Now, Mediahawk, we're kind of at every single stage of the customer journey. We plop a little piece of code on the site. So every visitor that lands on the website is cookied. And in essence, we can track every engagement. We can attribute every single source, whether they came from PPC, what was the keyword, what was the campaign. We can track emails, we can track SEO, we can track retargeting campaigns, we can track mail. But what we can also do is we can track the acquisition. Was it online, was it offline? Was it a CTA, was it a form fill? Was it live chat? We can report it all and we can place it all in one place. We're not selfish though, we send that data to other places, Adobe, GA4, the list really does go on CRM systems. But the whole point of us is being able to close the loop. And closing the loop is the point of attribution. We can import sales data and we can allocate sales data and attribute it back to each source. So the traffic from PPCs generated X amount of revenue. The traffic from emails generated X amount of revenue. But one thing we do with our niche is we can also track the phone calls. And we do this by providing every unique visitor that lands on the website a unique telephone number. So if you go onto Mediahawk, you will see a different telephone number to the number of the person you're sitting next to. And that number is locked to source. That number is locked to PPC. That number is locked to SEO. That number is locked to email. So we know where these inquiries are coming from. So let me introduce you AI Alice. AI Alice is on the hunt for a really nice holiday. She's been served an ad, and in the ad, she's landed on a website. And on that website, she's looking at long-haul flights, short-haul cruises, luxury cruises. This is not a family holiday. She's leaving the kids at home. This is going to be a really, really nice holiday. She's surfing it. She's reading FAQs and all sorts. 2 weeks later, she's found a blog online. And the blog is a pretty good blog too. Fantastic content, third-party source, great. She's come back to the same website, happy days, and she's downloading brochures, and now she's going to be getting loads of direct mail through her door, all sorts. She then decides to go, you know what, I'm going to book this. I've got sign-off from my boss. I'm going on holiday. It's happening. This time she knows the brand, and she typed it straight into Google. She's come through Google Business Profile, and she clicked that little website button. She's on the website and she's surfing. She goes, I'm going to go talk to someone, and the person I'm going to talk to will fix all my problems and let me go on a nice holiday. Talks to a salesperson, and then she still goes back to the website and engages. This is only a 3-stage journey. It's not very complicated. But actually, there's loads of different touch points. There's loads of different engagement points. There's loads of CTAs. There's a phone call in there. So we need to pull in all that data into one place. We need to align it. We need to see it in a nice way so we know what's affecting the journey, what isn't. But what Mediahawk does, it allows us to send data to GA4. It allows us to send data to Google Ads. So that conversion, in the very first instance, we can send back to Google Ads if we wanted to. We can pull data in from Google Ads. We can start seeing true ROI in one place. And that's the purpose of reporting. So, 2 strategies that we're going to try and look at today in the remaining minutes. And what we'll do is we'll cover off attribution and we'll move into AI-powered speech insights. This was the first ad that ever hit the internet. 1994, and it cost $30,000, and it lasted 3 months. There was 11 million internet users at that time, and it had a 44% click-through rate. That's epic. I want that rate. But I tell you what, that was where tracking was born. 7 years later, Urchin came about. And Urchin created the Urchin tracking module, the famous UTM. It was so good, a few years later, Google said, you know what, we're going to buy you. And they launched Google Analytics. A little company called Mediahawk formed, and we had a really cool logo. We had a hawk in it. The point of this story is today, 20 years later, GA4 is telling us to add UTM parameters to identify campaigns for referral traffic. Same tech 20 years ago. No hawk in my logo. So, today is not a UTM masterclass. It should just be a reminder to check your UTMs. Think about them. Are your UTMs in all the right places? Not just where you're spending money, but on those referral sites where you know you are listed on, which you may not pay for. Double check it, because we need to track every single source of traffic that's coming everywhere. And the point of this is, even if you don't have Mediahawk, you can do this today. You need to have good takeaways from this talk, so hopefully this will be one of them. Now, in Mediahawk, there's 40 reports, there's loads of custom reports, and I'm not going to go through all of them because you'll get nearly as bored as I will. But the point of what I'm going to try and show you is a report that you can replicate yourself just with the UTM tags to start closing the loop. Its attribution is, at the end of the day, what we want to achieve here. So on the right-hand side, I've got every single UTM campaign that's running. It's integrated with Google, so we get that data. Happy days. We've closed the loop, and we've attributed the revenue to the individual sources, which is great. The Mediahawk bit is in the middle, where what we do is we can tell you how many calls has come from those individual UTMs. We can also tell you how many of them were in visit. How many of those visits happen, and what was the total visitors? How many of them were unique? Are people writing the telephone number down and ringing it later because they're at work and they're like, oh, I'll do that at lunch? That's what it is. But the main metric here to look at is VCR. We know the conversion rates for form fills. We know the conversions. How do we give a conversion to phone calls? We don't. Until you use a VCR, which is a visitor call ratio. How many visitors do you get who pick up the phone? And the point of it is, we're in a reporting session. If you've got reports, we've got to do something about it. It's not just proving, it's about taking learnings and then reapplying. So for instance, the email campaign had X amount of phone calls and generated X amount of sales. Great. But how does that compare? We've got to keep benchmarking. We've got to take a report, benchmark, take the learnings and reapply it. Using UTMs is a great place, but using the conversion metrics that you've got to consistently tweak your marketing is really important. Today's about the impact of the journey. We all know first click, we all know only click, we all know last click. But what we don't know is what happens in the journey. Let's go back to AI Alice and think what she did. She clicked PPC, she went onto a blog, and then she came to the site via Google Business Profile, where she converted on a phone. The blog was still really important. The blog wasn't first or last, it wasn't only, it was part of the journey. You're blind until you start looking at the assisted sales. So this gray line through the middle is the assisted sales line. That is everything that's come from referral traffic. You can pick what you put in that bucket. And in essence, in that bucket is everything regarding SEO in this instance. So this has basically said, yes, there's been 186 sales that have happened where SEO was not first, it wasn't last, but it was part of the journey. And the point is we need to start looking at a different attribution method and use multi-touch, because these journeys are complicated. If you are an emergency service and you are, maybe a locksmith, or you are maybe a emergency plumber, yes, PPC ads are going to be really pivotal, because you're going to need people to ring those ads and they need to call there and then. They need it there and then. Still works great when you can compare what your first click is. You can still see, well, is that SEO that I'm doing actually part of any journey? Should I put all my budget into one basket? When it's complex journeys, assisted sales allows you to benchmark everything here. Take PPC, the next line down. There was 173 journeys in this case, which PPC was in the middle. The first question I'd have to ask for that is, why is PPC in the middle of this journey? Why is someone clicking on that ad again? Why haven't I created a custom audience? Why haven't I changed something here? Why do I want them to click on a PPC ad again? These are the questions that we can start playing with when we're looking at a set of reports that are really, really dynamic for the whole customer journey. So to wrap up a little bit around attribution, multi-touch is by far it just takes everything out of isolation. It turns everything into more of a dynamic solution, which allows you to understand how different channels affect the different parts of the journey. It takes into everything before the conversion has even happened. Obviously, I'm going to say call tracking does improve attribution, and the reason it does, though, when you look at it, is because you can link phone calls to specific campaigns, whether it's SEO, whether it's PPC, whether it's keywords. The fact we can say, okay, well, this keyword's generated you 100 phone calls, 50 grand's worth of revenue, that's why it's so powerful, because it is part of the journey. You can attribute form fills, but how are you attributing phone calls at the moment? And finally, it's all about breaking away from cannibalism. PPC and SEO need to work in tandem. No more do they need to eat each other up, and no more do they need to kind of be in their own silos. By working together, the strategies are much stronger. We're able to refine keywords, we're able to improve targeting and boost overall performance. So, that was a whistle-stop tour of just a little bit on attribution. Now we're going to talk about AI-powered speech insights, and the point around this is more around being able to understand outcomes of phone calls without even having to listen to them, using that data to create custom audiences from your reports, and being able to apply that. It's also looking at customer behaviors and thinking, okay, well, what are the long tail words that people are saying on these phone calls? Do I need to change my content? So let's jump in. Now, I'm going to show you some granular stuff first in the sense of how we collect all the data. So the data that we originally collect in the first instance is on a call record. And in this scenario, I've got a care home who is looking at placing, we've got a care home, and in that care home, the caller is a loved one looking to place their dad into a care home. When we first launched speech, years ago, all we were doing was scanning through text and going, was that said on the call, was that not? Was it a move-in, was it not a move-in? Was it a long-haul flight, was it not? Was it a red car, was it a blue car? Was it a service call, was it not? Because people were wanting to categorize calls to change their custom audiences in Google to sort out retargeting. It's really powerful just at that basic level, but we decided to take it one step further. So now what we allow is every single user in Mediahawk to ask questions of the phone calls, not just at an individual call level, but to ask questions to every single phone call on their account. So in this scenario, there's 4 key questions that they wanted to ask. They wanted to ask, what was the caller about? Did the caller achieve what they wanted? How will the caller be paying, and was a follow-up arranged? The point right now isn't the content. The point is how we use it. So straight away, from a marketing point of view, we know that this lead was a lead because it was looking to arrange some care. We know the caller had good satisfaction because we achieved what they wanted, and we understand the type of funding. It's self-funding. If you're in automotive, it could have been cash purchase or PCP or lease. Was a follow-up arranged? We know actually, do we need to retarget them if the follow-up's being arranged? Actually, we don't, because the sales team have got that hopefully under control. So now we're able to do more advanced categories and segmentation. We can start leaning on the relationships we have with our other partners. The way we integrate with GA4 allows us to send event data exports, and you can do this yourself. But what we're doing is we're taking the 80 points of data we collect and looking at creating loads of different custom audiences in order to refine our targeting. So in this instance, this was an old one. Call category, was it a repeat call and was it call length? Call's over 2 minutes, it's a good call. That's what people used to think. Now what we can do is target people who've actually shown an interest. I want to create a custom audience based on what's being said on the phone call. I want to retarget or I don't. If we're doing PPC and you generated 1,000 phone calls, 400 of those calls are suppliers and 600 are actual leads, you don't want to keep serving ads to suppliers. What's the negative keywords? How can we start thinking about it? The examples, what was the product that they're calling about? Was a follow-up arranged? Was it a long-haul flight? I really need a holiday. So, to wrap up speech, it definitely helps identify new content opportunities because we can identify when someone picks up the phone on the web page. If they're looking at FAQs, but every question they ask when they ring up isn't on your FAQ section, straight away you've got some new content that you can write. Keywords and guiding content creation is really good with speech. Voice search optimization. We all talk to Siri or Alexa or any of the bots that are out there. And we've got to think about how they can engage with us now and think about what's the terminology that people are using when they search generally. So if we can take any insights from phone calls we already have and understand the natural language that's being asked when people ring up, we can start applying that to our content. We can start applying that to our campaigns that we're running. And finally, optimizing paid search campaigns. For me, this is one where we're in a really clean position to start going what's working and what isn't. Going back to that scenario, I've had 1,000 phone calls and 600 of them are good, 400 are just not. They're recruiters, suppliers, they're calls that I don't want, current customers that I don't want them to be going into the sales function. Creating custom audiences off that just provides a completely different level of targeting and optimization from the reports that you've got in your gift. So the alignment between paid and organic definitely does boost SEO by creating that cohesive marketing experience. And finally, lead quality. I showed you the attribution report earlier, which had on there TTC, which is time to convert. Now, that time to convert isn't when someone lands in a funnel and converts into a sale. It's when they first land on your website. If we review salespeople or we want to talk to salespeople, we always tend to find that they go, yeah, I convert within 30 days. I convert in this time. And you can see it, but that's not the whole picture. The journey starts when they first come on your website. Think about AI Alice. Her journey started 3 weeks before she even ever spoke to a salesperson. So your real time to convert isn't when it hits a funnel. It's when they hit your website. So we need to capture that from the beginning, and we need to understand how that progresses through the conversation. So understanding lead quality, understanding how sales individuals respond to it using speech is really powerful. So, last slide. And I'm well on time, so you'll be happy. And yeah, a few laughs there, so I'm guessing you want me to wrap up too. So, keyword research drives SEO, but call tracking takes it further. It's all about discovering new keywords, content based on real customer conversations. It's a channel that can get overlooked quite a lot of the time, but the insights you get is huge, not just for keywords, but for content creation and so much more. Page relevance. The fact that we know where people are ringing from when they hit your page or where they convert, whether they're filling in form fills, signing up to call to action boxes on the site, is really, really powerful. We know that it's pages, not sites that rank. So we can really refine these pages better. Optimize for conversions, not just visitors. Traffic metrics are fantastic, and they're always the biggest number, but we need to look at those conversions. Focus on form fills, focus on the phone calls, focus on transactions. Think about how we can create different custom audiences based on the reports that we've got in our own power. And then finally, my biggest one is prove that SEO ROI and paid search really very much do align. The alignment enhances SEO and paid in a whole new third dimension. The fact that they just need to work in tandem together will allow you to unlock so much more. Just remember that business leaders, 58% of them see the data that is held as pivotal in changing the structure and the direction of a business. So everything we collect from when a visitor lands on the site, whether it's SEO, whether it's paid, they need to work together. So just break down that silo. And that's me. If you've got any questions, I'll stick around. I'll hand back to Daniel, but I really appreciate it. And thank you. Have a great day at MeasureFest.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.